Let's fucking go.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is D. Shaw, and today I'm here to give you my reasons for why I believe that Jubilee should be the lead of the MCU's X-Men movie. I think that the MCU really wants to do something different, and I believe Kevin Feige talked about that they were going to do something different a while ago once they even got him from the Fox from the X-Men. I've often said that I believe if you want to know what the MCU is going to do with the X-Men, just look at what they did with Spider-Man and just look at what they did with Fantastic Four. Both Spider-Man and Fantastic Four had such tonally, visually different approaches to them from their former movies by Fox and Sony, respectively. Like, Spider-Man Homecoming is so different from the Raimi movies and from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps is so different from the early 2000s Fantastic Four movie in the Josh Trank, was that 2014 Fan Four Stick or whatever movie? So, and like, it's so vastly different than those movies. It's, you know, Marvel really took huge creative swings with those movies and also harkened back to the heart and to the core of those characters, and but while doing something very different. In the case of Spider-Man Homecoming, they modernized Spider-Man more than any other adaptation of Spider-Man in comic, film, or video games has ever done, in my opinion, with Spider-Man Homecoming. They really created a Spider-Man that was believable, that feels like he could be in the real world right outside of your window. Whereas with the Fantastic Four, Marvel sort of went the opposite direction with the Fantastic Four, which is to make them have this interesting, unique 60s, like early, like Jetsons, like futuristic, like universe, which was a great approach because we had already seen a modernized version of the Fantastic Four with the early 2000s Fantastic Four movies. And obviously the Josh Trank movies tried to go with more of a body horror, so them going for a Silver Age classic, like, unique universe with this style that just harkens back to the original conception of the Fantastic Four comic books was just a smart and interesting move, and it ended up working out for both those films, them taking those swings. And I think that both of those movies show that Marvel really wants to take a swing, is going to really want to take a unique swing with the X-Men. So a lot of people kind of have them in their minds, like, they still have those Fox movies in their minds. You got to get rid of that. I think Marvel is going to approach, and Marvel has already kind of shown themselves that they hold that old X-Men, the animated series, to a high regard. Such a high regard that so far in the MCU, whenever they do show a mutant, so far in the MCU, in both Miss Marvel and Doctor Strange, and I believe another project, they have played the X-Men the Animated Series theme. And I guarantee you that when Doomsday comes around, when they venture into the X-Men's universe with Cyclops and Professor X and Magneto, they'll play that theme again, because I do think that X-Men the Animated Series is going to be heavily inspiring for their version of the X-Men that they're going to do when they come out with their X-Men movies. And because I think X-Men the Animated Series is going to be very inspiring of Marvel's approach to how they're going to handle their X-Men characters, I think that just like the animated series, it would be appropriate for Jubilee to be the audience's eyes into this X-Men's world. I believe that Jubilee can serve, it just like in the animated series, how Jubilee served as the audience's guide, so to speak, the audience's avatar into this world, because she was new to being a mutant, she was new to being in the at the X-Mansion. She was learning who Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean Grey and Storm and Beast and all the rest of them, who they were. So we got to learn about them somewhat through her, but she was sort of our introduction into that world. You know, it spread it out after that, but she was sort of our intro into this world. And I think that's exactly how they should handle it in the MCU. I think that they should have Jubilee because one of the big things about the X-Men's is one of the things is that one, the X gene usually kicks in around puberty, which also is when it kicked in for Jubilee, and also it's great to have an outsider's perspective of just how fucked up, how people's perspective changes on her from her just being a mutant, how her own parents feel a certain way about her, how people who were once her friends feel a certain way about her, how all of a sudden overnight she was ostracized, overnight she is vilified, overnight she is being prejudiced. There are prejudices against her, and to see that, and sure, they can get that across if they just tell like a normal X-Men story with the core X-Men members dealing with all these prejudices and whatnot. But I think it'll be a lot easier to really get across that message that represents the X-Men so much if you have a character who is going through all of this shit right up top, right now from the beginning. And having a character and Jubilee is sort of a godsend for Marvel, in my personal opinion, because having Jubilee be the lead gives you such an opportunity that is a unique opportunity. Because, let's face it, right now in comics and in certain forms of genres, when you cast a woman in it, you automatically fire off alarm sounds in certain people's heads. And also when you cast a person of color, Asian, African American, whatever, Latino descent as the lead character in anything, you automatically, particularly a superhero project, a big superhero project like this, you automatically get some people already kind of with their fucking about to just start woke. You automatically have that kind of in the horizons. And obviously Disney is a corporation. Marvel is a corporation, and they have to try to appeal to as many people as they possibly can. But sometimes they do that at the cost of actual good art. But this is a rare occasion where the synergy of simultaneously having something diverse that can appeal to a wider audience, and it have comic book and animated precedent, so that the comic book nerds and people who are fans of the X-Men won't get too upset about Jubilee being the lead, because we'll all think back to the X-Men the animated series, and it'd be like, you know what, she was sort of the audiences into this universe. Also, I think they need, I think they need a character like Jubilee, and it just crosses so many boxes. You get an Asian American main protagonist, you get a female main protagonist, and not only that, you get all of that without it even being forced at all, without it feeling forced, without it feeling like agendified, because she was that in the X-Men the animated series. She was that then, and as long as you don't write it correctly, you could do something interesting with that character. Also, I don't want the young X-Men. I think they're gonna handle it just like they did Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. I don't want a young X-Men. I don't want teen Scott Summers and teen Jean Grey. I don't want none of that. I don't want X-Men Evolution, okay? I don't want that. I want the X-Men. I want Scott Summers and the X-Men to already be formed by the time this movie starts. I want Jubilee. That's why I want Jubilee to be the lead, so she can be our in into this world. I wanted to be one of those. I think they can do one of those things where she sort of has a different perspective on all this mutant shit, and maybe Scott and the rest of the X-Men over the course of the movie are feeling jaded, but she's kind of this bright light in this dimness of the reality of them fighting the good fight. And she's this young, vibrant baby face. They gotta find a great young actress to play this role. If they can find someone like the Miss Marvel actress, Milan Vellani, to play this role, that's what I want. I want a Jubilee with Miss Marvel energy, Iman Vellani energy. I think if they can do that, I think that can work. I just think that it would just be perfect, and it would give it would give the audience an in. It would give you the viewpoint of the mutant situation from the perspective of someone who isn't used to this shit. It could be a nice underdog story of her trying to get in the X-Men. Now that doesn't mean, just because she's the main protagonist doesn't mean you can't focus on Scott, you can't focus on all the other team members, but I do think it would do them better to do it that way. It's either that or you're gonna just have it be Scott, but there has to be a main protagonist. Throughout Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord is technically the main protagonist. You can argue it's not until Guardians 3 that another protagonist steps up. Throughout the Avengers movies, arguments could be made that Tony Stark is technically the main protagonist since he made Ultron and he has the most screen time and whatnot. Team-up movies, there's always still a main protagonist. Yelena Belova is the main protagonist in the Thunderbolts. Like, no matter how you slice it, you kind of still have to have a main protagonist. And I think that in the X-Men movie, if you're gonna have a main protagonist, you need to have one who can embody what the X-Men are all about. Because I just think Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, whoever else you're gonna have in this X-Men team, I think they're so established. I think that people kind of get those characters. Now, do Cyclops justice, but I do think those characters, people get those ones. Where if you cast Jubilee as the lead character, as the audience's avatar throughout the movie, you could elevate Jubilee to another stratosphere. You could elevate that character so you can start printing out, like, really, you can elevate that character in a very similar way that the Guardians of the Galaxy were elevated by the Guardians movies. You could really elevate Jubilee. So that's my opinion. I think Jubilee should be the lead of the X-Men movie. Thank you guys for watching the Comic Get Movie Show. Please like and subscribe and comment below. What do you think? Do you think Jubilee should be the lead, or do you think another character should be the lead of the X-Men movie? Comment below and let me know. Thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one.